Kia ora whānau, so here we are with Alan. How you doing?
I'm all right, actually.
We're about to find out, aren't we?
Yeah, no, I'm always good. I'm always good, I always say. Ooh.
We're smiling away, so it's good to see you. You're still here and staying strong. And
yeah, well, you have to smile, don't you? It's a bloody grim world if you don't.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah.
Well, please tell us who you are and what you do for the ones who don't know, who you are. And
Okay, I'm Alan Simmons. I started the Outdoors and Freedom Party about 8 years ago. I've been involved in quite a few political parties over the years, but none of them, of course, have matched my expectations of looking after the environment, And I've always said the Greens were just too extreme, so I decided to start a party that was more focused on good environmental practices and not extreme practices, and around fishing and hunting and stuff. And obviously 1080 was a big issue that led us on to the freedom and stuff like that, of which Sue and I got together on, and Sue's been a champion of the cause, really, and it's been excellent. So yeah, that's pretty much me. I spent most of my life as a fishing and hunting guide, and I took people all over New Zealand and over the world on trips and to places, really amazing, out of the way places around the world. And so I had a good career.
Amazing.
And now I'm a bit buggered because COVID got rid of all my clients, and now the police got rid of my ability to walk.
Amazing.
So,
not amazing, but incredible what you've been through and what you've done.
Yes.
And so we'll get to the police brutality real soon. But before all of that, how is it getting into the Freedom Village and obviously joining through the convoy? How did it feel? To be part of that. Like how was that feeling getting there and seeing the whole nation just go for it?
It was history.
Yeah.
And, unless you were there, you can't understand how historic it was.
And you're not just saying that, are you? It's really true.
It was, look, long after I'm dead, people will be talking about it, And we talk about the Springbok tour. The Springbok tour was paled into insignificance compared with what happened at Parliament this year.
Yeah.
And the amazing people that were there, the amazing things that happened, it was pretty stunning, it really was. A great part of New Zealand history. I guess as time goes on, it will be recorded more and more because there was like 1,000 video cameras going every minute of the day, so there's no shortage of film of it anyway.
Yeah, every angle was covered pretty much. I didn't miss a second.
I think that's the police's biggest problem.
Yeah. And that was pretty unbelievable what they actually did and actually went through, isn't it? I mean, one thing's to take an order and do your job, but one thing's to actually keep going through it and doing what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, how was your experience? You were there pretty much from the get-go, and how was it from that first day of, was it the Tuesday? The Tuesday I'm pretty sure it was the Tuesday. I think February 10th it was, and from that to the escalations afterwards, how was your experience through that?
It was wonderful. In a way, I miss it.
Yeah.
There was so many great people and so much stuff happening. But everything you read and heard about it was just such lies. The media and the government tried to portray it as a river of filth and all of this, and it just wasn't happening. There were people sweeping all day long. There was, toilets were being cleaned and showers built. There was so much food. I remember they had a struggle with the amount of food being delivered They had 3 warehouses.
Wow.
And people were still walking up the road, ordinary residents of New Zealand, of Wellington, ordinary residents, the people who were supposed to be scared by all these protesters, were walking in with big bags of bread and food, and they had to build another separate tent to handle all of that stuff coming in. I see people carrying cartons of baked beans, and these are people, and then they'd all come up and say, if you want to come and have a shower, I just live up Tinakoi Road there, or up in Wadestown. Come up and you can have a shower and all that. These were ordinary people that the media said were scared of us, and you know, it was just a big lie. It really was.
Yeah, a lot of people. I actually met ex-military that they attended and and supported the cause, and they even said that they can't believe how many people were fed on a daily basis. It was just unreal, eh? From their little side tents and barbecues and sausage sizzle on Hill Street, was it? I think, and to ended up being vegan and all these other options. It was like choosing which restaurant you could go to, right?
I know it became that way. Actually, it became a bit of a problem to get fed almost, because there was just too many people at some point. No, sorry, I won't say it was too many people to feed, but the lines were so long at one point.
Just overwhelming, wasn't
it? Because half of Wellington was turning up at 5 o'clock for a feed. And there were people that weren't there all day, but they were there for a feed. They I wouldn't get food like this at the Salvation Army. So, it was a very amazing experience. It really was. Yeah.
And, what's your insight or what you saw in terms of the police brutality from the the first day, or the first line of defence they try to use against us and try to kick us off until it just escalated?
Well, about halfway through, they come barging down Hill Street. I don't remember the day. And a police officer, no, they came down Molesworth Street, sorry, and I saw, it was totally enacted, that whole incident, and up Molesworth Street they had a big team of riot officers standing on the side, way back up the street, and the police decided they were going to try and move the crowd on, and they sent this riot squad, and they all just come running down, woof, 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 move with their stuff. And there was a car came down. Nobody could understand where the car came from, and it stopped before the crowd and went. And then the police started to try and have a fight with everybody. And we called it the Battle of the Portaloos, because I'm absolutely positive their aim was to push the Portaloos over and spill all the excrement down Molesworth Street, and that would justify then shutting the whole road off and then starting to clean up. And the police were putting their shoulders to the Portaloos, and there was all these people on the other side putting their shoulders back or their backs to it, fighting them. And a police officer came over to me, and I was just filming it, and he just smacked me right here in the arm with a knuckle duster. There's the black gloves, if you have a look, they've got big knobs on them, knuckle dusters, smacked me. I still can't move my hand, right, this is sore now. And Sue's got some photos of these, just 2 huge big welts right into my arm that took like 10 days, 2 weeks to go from the knuckle dusters. And so that was pretty tumultuous. I had to have my arm in a sling for about 3 days.
Actually, I remember you being in a sling. Yeah, I do remember.
And I wasn't the only one smacked around, but that was the sort of stuff that they were doing.
Right.
And then there was all sorts of incidents during the course of the thing. Obviously, when they put the concrete blocks around and that, and they put the concrete blocks right beside our van. We were in a legal car park and we couldn't move. We had a block, just enough for our sliding door to open so we could creep in, and at the back of the van and at the front. We couldn't move. And then they arrested our van later on the final day. I said, well, what are we supposed to do? We're in a legal car park and you've blocked it.
Unreal. And so let's clear up the rumours. Apparently you hurt your hip. I heard people said you died. I heard all sorts of things. So you didn't die. You're here alive.
Yeah.
Unless you're a clone, I don't know. But tell us more about that incident. That was very early morning, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, we heard the helicopter come over. That started it. And it was very interesting. The police helicopter makes a very strange noise. And I understand that this is some technology they've been playing around with that winds people up. You know, the sort of the noise that they put some little sort of flutter things on the blades or something. And it started with that. And Sue and I both walked up the street to Hill Street, and you could see this very, very big lineup going way back of police, all with lights on and geared up with helmets and you know, shields and all the gear. Next minute, I was just filming. I wasn't anywhere near all the trouble. Next minute, they just started coming. And I was sort of said in the video I was taking, here they come, here they come. And next minute, smack, this police officer just whacked me with the shield. And then others joined in. It was like a big push. And they hit me 3 times. And those shields were hard. I didn't realise that. I thought they were just plastic. They were like concrete. And they hit me 3 times and knocked me to the ground, backwards. I smashed my camera. I lost all my credit cards and money and everything just scattered. And they just stomped on me. And they just walked right over the top of me as if I was just a bit of the footpath of the pavement. And just left me lying there. And all I could see above me was a medley of feet and legs and people yelling and screaming and the cops screaming, move, 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 and pushing. Eventually I managed to drag myself over by the Waterloos and to a bit of a spot just by that appeals court, I think it was, and I sort of sat on a bit of a stool there thinking, oh boy, I'm hurt. Then I tried to stand up and I knew I had a broken hip because, I never know in pain like it. It's a painful thing. And somebody went off and got a medic who came up with a wheelchair, and they dragged me into the wheelchair and took me back down to the medic tent. And what I saw there was dreadful. There were people in there in massive pain. There was a chap with a broken shoulder that they saw. There was people just full of gas, you know, the capsicum gas. Then what surprised me, that a lot of people don't know, that they were then spraying the males down below, spraying their balls.
Oh, wow.
And all the males were sort of backed up with their backs to the police, because that's how they were fighting it. And the police were coming through with the gas and trying to spray them when they had shorts and that. And down in that medical tent, there were blokes, big blokes coming, oh my balls, I'm on fire. Absolutely, unreal.
Wow.
This is the dirty, rotten tactics. And they were spraying the capsicum gas just like going out like that. I thought capsicum gas could only be used in limited situations and so on, but no, they were just spraying big canisters of it at the crowd.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable indeed.
Yeah. So I then rang an ambulance. And they said, well, yeah, we'll come. And then they rang back, then they said to one of the medics, no, we can't come and get him anywhere. You've got to get him somewhere. So
hang on, you called, are you sure it was the ambulance? Was it 111?
Yeah, 111.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure, because that's the first time in my life I heard someone, they won't pick you up.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't pick us up, yeah. So then there was the nurse had been 16 years on the St John's ambulance, and she'd been mandated off because she wouldn't get jabbed. And so she said, oh, I'll take him down to the railway station. So her and another chap wheeled me all the way down to the railway station. You know, it's the most painful journey you could ever go. Try and do that with a broken leg, a broken hip, in a wheelchair.
Bumping around, yeah.
So anyway, we got down there, and they wouldn't come. And eventually a doctor came, and he was furious, and he was ringing the emergency part of the ambulance. There must be sort of more internal system. And he was saying, I want an ambulance here now. This chap needs an ambulance immediately. He went and appealed to a police officer. I think the police officer, not sure if he did something or not. There were Maori wardens there trying to get ambulances. An ambulance came past, and he stopped at the traffic lights. And this nurse ran over and said, I want you to take this chap right now. He said, we're not allowed to stop. And he just drove off.
Wow.
For 3.5 hours, I sat there on the side of the road in the drizzle and everything, in pain. And so that was the experience. And I have donated to St John's Ambulance all my life. Never again, St John.
On a receipt, I want it back. Yeah. Wow.
Having said that, when they did arrive, they were very good.
Okay, that's good.
But 3.5 hours later, I could have been dead.
Yeah. Well, imagine if you're having a heart attack or something. Oh, gosh. Jeez, that's, what an experience. I've never heard of something like that in my life. People just calling the emergency number to get an ambulance, and they don't even want to pick you up. Like,
well, I did see a photo, and I haven't seen it again, but somebody's got it, of all the ambulances parked around behind Parliament buildings. They were parked there, and apparently they weren't allowed to come out. They were there in case the police got hurt. Yeah. So eventually I got to hospital, and they give me something to suck on, actually. Sue reckons I was busy high-fiving people at that point. That's some pretty good stuff. And we got to the hospital, and they said I had COVID. Really? I haven't got COVID, you know. But the doctor said, don't argue, you'll get a room with a toilet and a shower of your own. I said, well, that's okay if you can walk.
Yeah, true that. Yeah.
But I think it was about the 5th that was the second, wasn't it? It was about the 5th before they gave me my operation.
Wow.
And
so about 3 days later.
Yeah, it was pretty, but lots of painkillers by then.
Yeah.
Really, really good. I hats off. The hospital service was brilliant.
Okay.
The people were brilliant. The nurses were brilliant. Everything. I couldn't fault it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
I wouldn't recommend it, but I tell you what, they were good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good to hear.
Then. Yeah.
At least there's some pro coming out of all those cons, you know.
They were good. So then they arrested our van, of course. I don't think. I think Sue said at the time they actually said your van is under arrest. It's subject to a criminal investigation. And then an hour later they released it. They must have picked it up with a forklift and tipped the thing upside down while they were doing it, you know, and everything was scattered there all over the way. Yeah, what a mess. And we just had a brand new exhaust put in it, and I noticed it's leaking. I need to get somebody to get underneath and have a look. Probably had the forklift forks through it or something. So we got the van back, and then here I am, 8, 9, 10 weeks later, still struggling to walk, and the pain. Some nights it's quite painful, other nights it's not, but we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you still smiling, and you know you're going by and you're just taking it as it comes, and because it's kind of the only way we can go through it, and in terms of whoever else out there got seriously injured like yourself.
Well, normally I'd be fishing and hunting. The autumn is a big time for the roar and everything, and not this year.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a shame, but anyway, life throws a few curveballs at times.
It does, yeah.
I keep saying I shouldn't have been in the position to have been knocked over by them, but if it's not unless you were there, you realise how hard it was to avoid them. You couldn't. They came so quickly and so many of them, and none of us really knew what was going on.
Yeah.
But the whole of Hill Street, all the way up it, you could just see this massive bank of police and their lights, their helmets on their heads. And
Never seen anything like it, eh?
No.
Yeah.
No, the violence. I don't know. We were. They reckon they were doing it under the Policing Act. Well, where does the Policing Act give them a right to close a road off like that? They can close a road off, it's been an accident and stuff like that. But to close a road off and then try and fight everybody, people were singing the national anthem. There was no violence. Everybody had their backs to them, arms linked, and the police were smashing them at the back. There was plenty of video of it, you've probably seen it. It was dreadfully violent. How they can say the protesters are violent is rubbish. And then, of all the things later on, from the video you saw all these people who had never been there all turn up, throwing bricks and stuff. Well, we watched them almost every day come up our street, and you'd see a police car drop them off, and then they'd walk up and just in plain clothes with a little backpack on and a mask on, and they would get to where our van was, which was right at the beginning of the sort of the roadblocks, and they'd take their mask off and they'd walk into the crowd. And some days you'd see half a dozen of them doing that. They were police intelligence, and they were coming in to stir up the trouble. And I'm sure that those last scenes you see of the end of the protest, where there's people lighting fires and throwing rocks, and you see they've got a little backpack on and stuff like that. They weren't part of the protest. I don't know who they were, but I'm sure, well, I'll say my suspicion is that it was the police. The police organised it because they had to make the thing become violent to justify what they did.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
That's the way I see it anyway.
Yeah. Well, you're right, because doing what I do, I'm very fortunate to talk to hundreds, if not over 1,000 people after this, and after the Freedom Village and when it ended, and not one person denies what you're saying. They're saying the same thing, going, yeah, these people were not here, because everyone knew each other. We even, we spoke here and there, but we knew we were there. Like, you knew the faces, right? And so to see these new faces there was not part of who we were, right? They were definitely someone else that was not part of the occupation in the Freedom Village. People were there.
Well, you could tell them by they had little backpacks on and stuff like that. Nobody in the Freedom Village had backpacks on.
Right. And with a mask on especially,
mask
right?
On. Yeah. Well, nobody down there had a mask on.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
It was a dreadful ending in the sense that it could have ended so easily. All they had to do was the Prime Minister, or any of them probably, come out and say, yeah, well, look, your point is noted, but we're going to think about getting the mandates removed shortly, blah, blah, blah. And I think you would have found most people would have drifted away in the next day or so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people had enough. They'd been there, a month. And people had to get back to their lives.
Yeah.
But to end it that way, poor. And it's how Jacinda wanted it to end. Obviously, she ordered it. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what the orders were. And the other thing is, for me to get done over twice, and they chased Sue down the road. They chased her, but she was pretty smart and leapt over the fence.
Yeah.
I reckon at their briefing they had who they wanted. The big photos of them. Who were the political leaders,
Yeah.
And they went after Leighton Baker and got him. And
even Chantal as well.
Chantal,
yeah.
So I think they knew all the people they wanted, and they would write, these are their photographs. I bet they were all up on the wall in the morning briefing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, anything's possible these days, isn't it? There's no limitations to their dedications, eh?
Well, who were they? Where did all these police officers come from? There was 600 or something there. And none of them had badges on. They all had, well, most of them had tape over their things, over there where the badges were. They had masking, not masking tape, duct tape, silver duct tape and that.
Yeah.
Why did they want to hide their numbers and their identification?
Mm. Yeah, and what gives them the right to as well, eh?
The law doesn't give them that right.
No.
So how are we going to prosecute them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good question. And for your own sake, I really hope that you get justice for what had happened to you, and for everyone else out there as well that are watching.
Yeah, there was a lot of injured people down there, and a lot of people weren't maybe physically injured, apart from the gas in their eyes and things like that.
Yeah.
But there was also a lot of people that really were hurt. The chap with the black eyes, where they gouged his eyes, and
Waterloo Phil. Yeah.
Waterloo Phil, that's right. I love the Battle of the Portaloos instead of the Battle of Waterloo, the Battle of Portaloos.
The Battle of Portaloos. Yeah.
And I had a police sergeant come up to me at one point, and he said, "I want the street cleared." And we said, "No, we're not clearing the street, And he said, "Well, I can tell you what, you will never get your toilets emptied again. I will personally see to that." You see? And he did. See?
Concrete blocks.
No, well, you could come down, concrete blocks, but you could still come down Moses Street or down Hill Street.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But they stopped the van from coming in, the truck from coming in. So somebody ripped off, and somehow you saw all these guys carrying a big portable pump through, and remember, and a tank. And next minute they had their own sort of system to empty them. Then they said, "Oh, bugger this, we might as well build proper toilets." And they're all walking in with sheets of plywood and proper loos and flushing systems. And they piped it all into the sewage.
Yes.
And the council moaned that it was an illegal connection. Well, what did they want us to do with it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable, eh?
Yeah.
And the ingenuity as well that was made down there was quite beautiful, wasn't it? And especially like the sprinklers, seeing all the plumbers actually moving all the water outwards, thinking they were just going to flood us out, right?
I know, it was amazing. It's just, I just love some of the humour that was there. The mallard ducks in the little lake.
The little lake on the side, eh? Yeah. Kids were playing with it, eh? Yeah.
It was a great event, and I'm sure it'll be recorded properly given time, and it'll go down in the annals of history. And for all that you do and what you're doing at the moment, where do you see the future heading in terms of what you and Sue are doing? Well, we've got to go through Tauranga by-election. I think Sue can win it, to be quite honest. She's very popular here. National chuck a lot of money at it, of course, and probably it's a national stronghold. But it depends how many people vote. It's a by-election. A lot of people have had a guts full of politics at the moment. It's not working for them. And so, we'll give this a good crack anyway, and then we'll go back to 1080 or 5G. Or there'll be another issue along by then.
There's always something new, isn't there?
I know. It's really interesting because people need issues. Issues give people hope and spirit in a way, even though they're not, very kosher, but they give people something to sort of rally behind, I suppose. And there are a lot of people in the country who do believe 1080 is poisoning our forests, that do believe that 5G is going to pollute our atmosphere and stuff like that. And those concerns do need to be addressed, but this government in particular has just taken exactly the same stance as they did with the Freedom Camp in Wellington. Ignore it. Nothing happened, or just tell absolute lies about everything, or half-truths, And so people get very frustrated.
Mm.
And that was the problem with Wellington, just absolute frustrations.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely so. And what would be your one message from here in New Zealand to the rest of the nation and maybe to the rest of the world about the current situation?
Look, the trouble with me, I guess, is that I think back of what New Zealand used to be like.
Mm.
And it was a wonderful country where everybody loved their neighbours and everybody got on and helped each other, and it was just a great society. And somehow it changed dramatically in the early 80s, and it's really interesting. I keep thinking back of things like in my childhood days, where, for example, dads all went out to work and there was a job for everybody, and mum stayed at home and looked after the kids. And they had one car, it was usually an old Ford V8 or an Austin or something like that. And on that one wage, they could feed the family properly, and eventually they end up getting a holiday home. I was born in Wellington, raised there. Next minute they're all slowly buying holiday homes out at Pauparam, Waikanae and stuff like that. And then, it was a very equal society. I know in some jobs that I did that the managing director wasn't getting much more than the person on the factory floor. But today the person on the factory floor gets like $18 an hour and the managing director gets $18,000 an hour. It's just totally wrong. And I feel now where you see a situation where in South Auckland, hubby goes out to work all day, and he, probably a low sort of paying job anyway, unfortunately, but he goes out all day, and he comes home and he sort of tag teams the wife as she goes out to work for the night. And she works all night, and they can't even afford to pay the rent on 2 wages. If they can, there's only enough left for white bread and, shit food. It's wrong, absolutely wrong. And so, but I don't know how we change it. But I know what I'd do if I was Prime Minister or a dictator. So I just love the way New Zealand was as an equal society, and it's not now.
And you think that we can go back there with the right attitude? And
Sure we can. The vast sums of money we're spending on stuff that consultants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What I see today is another 90 million for mental health or something. I mean, the last, 100 and something million never ended up in the mental health system, and Mike King was moaning about that, It all ended up in consultants, but not in real programs, I don't know, but we need to reallocate everything. People need proper houses. Probably half of those motels in Rotorua, the old motels, are all now homes for, the homeless. How can a family live in a motel room for years? Ridiculous. And they were ready for being bulldozed down years ago,
Yeah.
And there's something wrong. They're paying full rates for those. They'd be better off to build them a house somewhere.
Right.
Stick them in it. I remember when they built Pairua, in no time at all. Why can't we do the same now?
Yeah.
But no, you can't do that. I don't want to get facetious.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I appreciate your time, and it's an honour to have you sit down and properly have a chat to you, because we've always passed through and seeing you met you quite a while ago. And now we're here where we are, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll certainly do our best here.
Yeah.
We've certainly got the best person with Sue Gray standing here, and if she gets in, I wouldn't like to be down there. They will wonder what hit them if Sue Gray gets down there.